Just one day after becoming a tactical airlift wing, the Kentucky Air National Guard received its first real-world mission as an airlift unit. On January 9, 1989, the unit was assigned to transport 57 members of the 123rd Civil Engineering Squadron from Louisville, Kentucky to Soto Cano Air Base in Honduras, aboard one of their newly acquired C-130 Hercules aircraft. As one of the largest air bases in Central America, Soto Cano is located in the west-central region of Honduras, about 50 miles north of Tegucigalpa, the capital and largest city. The country, often rugged and mountainous, and at times very beautiful, borders on Guatemala to the north, El Salvador on the west, and Nicaragua on the south. The austere living conditions at Soto Cano were in no way fancy, but the base contained many amenities that make life a bit easier while stationed there. Personnel are housed in 16-man hooches, a simple but efficient plywood barracks building. Other facilities, such as an excellent dining hall, BX, recreation center, base theater, tennis courts, and a swimming pool, are available for the many Guard and Reserve forces stationed at Soto Cano. Nearly 50 states and U.S. territories have sent units to Central America, and eventually all states will be training here on a rotating basis. The Kentucky Civil Engineering Squadron was divided into two teams throughout the deployment. The first team's responsibility was to construct a 10 by 30-foot running water facility known as a flushy, which included 10 toilets, 1 urinal, and a 2-sink wash basin. After review of the plans and specifications, the first crew to begin was the site survey team, who set up all coordinates and grade elevations for the proper placement and height of the facility. After all coordinates were marked off according to plans, the heavy equipment operator swung into gear, digging a trench for the below-ground piping and for site leveling. As the plumbing pipes were installed, each with the proper angle, the 10-seat flushy began to take shape. This building was greatly needed by the personnel in the area, as the next closest facility was nearly 1/4 of a mile away. As soon as the forms were properly placed and aligned, the concrete floor was poured and finished for the foundation. Next, the team of many carpenters and other skilled trades, composed of both men and women, began to cut, saw, and hammer. With the usual team spirit known to the CE unit, the facility was nearly completed by the end of the 2 weeks and ready for the next unit to pick up where the 123rd had left off and finalize the last 30% of the project. Along the way, minor problems cropped up to slow the progress of construction, such as this swarm of bees who felt a nearby tree might be the ideal place to set up a hive. According to this source, there were plenty of bees, and just how many?
1,000 million. I think that we're finished work now. It's time to eat.
In addition to the flushy, another building project was begun by the 123rd Civil Engineers. This second project was to construct another much-needed structure, a 16-foot wide by 128-foot long shower facility complete with sinks and hot and cold running water. As with any building of this size, laying a good foundation is the first order of business. With time of the essence, the can-do attitude of the 123rd began to show as the construction crew worked long into the night to complete the mixing, pouring, and setting of 51 concrete foundation pads. These pads supported 2-foot-high wooden piers which elevated the building to allow for drainage through the floor onto a sheet metal trough which then guided the water to the drainage piping below. This shower facility was also a much-needed luxury, as there were only 3 other such buildings on the entire base and not one even close to this area. Once the concrete pads were poured and cured, the lumber and nails began to fly. But getting the lumber and supplies to the work site when needed proved to be a tough task. With the indispensable help of Tech Sergeant Ricardo Leacock, the 123rd Spanish-speaking supply sergeant, this supply requisition process was made easier. Born and raised in Panama for 21 years, Sergeant Leacock spoke the language fluently. Having to coordinate with the Honduran lumberyard and supply personnel would have been difficult at best without the assistance of the native interpreter for the unit.
Okay, let's do that. Vamos a esperar, vamos a conseguir el tamaño que ellos necesitan. Entonces conseguimos eso después. Esa era mi colonia. Sí, Chas, yo tenía el polvo, tenía el jabón, tenía deodorante.
El otro fue también asado. El pan,
They get paid $400 a month.
The 12-hour workdays, commonplace to this unit, were filled with many obstacles such as heat and sunburn as well as dehydration, but no one was seriously affected, proving once again that their motto, "Don't worry about it," was in full force. Midway through their training projects at Soto Cano, about half of the Kentucky unit took some time off for some rest and relaxation. The 4.5-hour bus ride took the members through many remote villages, over mountainous terrain, and across a truly isolated nation to the beautiful North Shores on the Caribbean. Efforts by the 123rd Civil Engineering Squadron support not only the Honduran Air Base at Soto Cano, but also the important Task Force Bravo, the combined United States Army and Air Force presence that established itself there in 1984. The task force works alongside the Honduran government to ensure the nation's sovereignty and to deter the communist threat of neighboring leftist nations. In addition, JTF Bravo, as it's known, seeks to develop Honduras's economic and educational structure while improving its quality of life. National Guard and Reserve units from around the U.S. have played an important role in these efforts since 1985, primarily to support road building projects in the north-central region of Honduras. According to Lieutenant Colonel Harvey Hawkinson, commander of the Task Force 164 Quartering Party from North Dakota, working here on the road projects is not the same as back home.
Restrictions in the Midwest, on one hand restrictions, some aren't restrictions, but we have good roads in the Midwest. We have water where we need it. We have local purchase of any kind if we get in a little jam on this or that. We have people fussing and worrying about us all the time that'll take us out of a problem. We're here, we're on our own. We had to do our total planning ahead of time. You got to make do with what you have. You have to put things together as you go. Before any convoys could leave here, we had to send an equipment convoy out to repair and fix roads before they can get where they're going. We've got 40 kilometers of bad roads that have had 2 days improvements on them before we dare send the convoy to try and get into the base camp. We just don't have that kind of thing. Plus all the loading and the packaging and the manifesting and all those logistical things that come very easy to us when we don't have to do them. But when it gets for real, it becomes extremely complicated, and we've learned a lot on that.
Toward the end of the 2-week stay, the civil engineers were visited by Brigadier General John L. Smith, commander of the 123rd Tactical Airlift Wing, and by Brigadier General Michael W. Davidson, Adjutant General of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. The generals reviewed the Kentucky work sites, met with personnel, and toured the facilities at Soto Cano. General Smith was pleased with what he saw and recommended that other units seek training here.
Training opportunities are unlike any that I can see that they can go any place in the world. The conditions are austere, but morale is high, and the work that they're doing is quite in line with the things that they're really trained to do in a wartime scenario. We have had the opportunity today to visit throughout Honduras and see the base camps and the additional work that's being done on the roadway systems throughout Honduras. And again, it's an engineering marvel and a miracle, the things that they're doing down here. I would highly recommend any unit that wants to come to Honduras for training, that this is the place to come to get combat ready.
It was a good training exercise for all the engineers, both craftsmen and supervisors alike. Aside from the language barrier and the need for an interpreter, this mission went very well. For all members of the 123rd, it was a good experience, and the memories, as well as the skills learned here, will last a lifetime.